The Modi-Trump meet and its live coverage right here on News9. Joining me here on the broadcast is Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former Indian diplomat. You've got Major General Ashwini Sewaj, defense and security expert. My colleagues Sandeep Unithan and Aditya Rajkal also with us on the broadcast here. Ambassador, I'm going to quickly come to you. Let's bring you in on this discussion. You know, we've been talking about how this balancing act is going to be, very crucial when you're looking at defense, when you're looking at trade ties, and there's not a lot of elbow room, not a lot of wiggling space. Now, what does India trade with America? We're talking about, medical equipment, we're talking about technical gadgets, we're talking about pearls and gems, and on the other hand you've got petrochemicals, you've got fuel, you've got energy, you've got small nuclear reactors that the Americans also send here towards India. When we're looking at what India can possibly now do, what can Prime Minister Modi now do to satisfy the American administration under Donald Trump? Because I'm also reading here that India spent between $1.5 billion to $4 billion on American defense imports in the last recent years. And at this point in time, there was going to be some sort of trouble taking on expensive new systems like, fighter jets. We've already got pending orders that earlier, in the debate and discussion, Sandeep and I were talking about how there's already pending orders when we're looking at the United States, when we're looking at Russia, when we're looking at France as well. So what is it that India can actually do to satisfy Mr. Trump?
Well, thanks for having me on your show. Before we went on the break, I heard General Sewaj, and he hit the nail on the head when he said that petrochemical exports from the United States as also weapons exports, these will be fundamental towards trying to assuage America. General Sewaj was right. Our security needs are very, very important. We are the world's largest importer of defense equipment, and the United States is the world's largest exporter of defense equipment. So there is a natural possibility of building a good equation there. Let me also mention that the U.S. defense manufacturing infrastructure is part of the deep state of the United States. It controls policy to a considerable extent. And the deep state wants a good relationship with India so that it can boost its defense production sales to India. Now, there is therefore this very, very important aspect. But the problem is that while the United States wants to maximize its share of the Indian defense market, but the Trump administration is not very forthcoming when it comes to transferring technology. The Biden administration was relatively more forthcoming, but President Trump has been very, very opposed to the idea of transfer of technology in the defense sector. And we, on the other hand, want to indigenize production. We want to purchase sophisticated weaponry, but our objective is make in India. So there is a fundamental problem there, but good negotiations could resolve that. There is, of course, the petrochemical aspect. President Trump has been emphasizing that he wants the United States to become the world's largest exporter of petrochemical products. And certainly India is a very big market. There has been a lot of opposition from the Trump administration to India's large purchases of petroleum products from Russia. So while we could cut down our imports from Russia and give a share of our petrochemical market to the United States, but the prices have to be reasonable. We were getting the oil from Russia because the prices were so low. And the United States, if it wants to export oil to India at very high prices, because a lot of the oil there comes from the fracking process, then unfortunately there will be a problem that we will encounter. But nonetheless, there is a very perceptible interest on the part of the United States to boost its exports in these two sectors. There are a lot of problems which may come up during the bilateral interactions. Tariffs, because President Trump wants to impose tariffs on countries which he feels are not very helpful to the United States in terms of reducing the adverse balance of trade with the United States has. And with India, there is a considerable trade imbalance as he
You're
sees
right.
it.
You're right,
And there is
Ambassador.
also this question of immigrants, both legal and illegal. As regards illegal immigrants, we cannot oppose the deportation because the illegal immigrants have no business to be in the United States. But what we are concerned about is the manner in which they were deported, the inhumane manner. They were shackled, they were tied with handcuffs, and that created an uproar here. So, certainly, we will bring it to the attention of the US authorities that by all means deport them, but do it in a more humane manner. Don't make it such that there will be another public outcry. As regards legal immigrants, I think President Trump has himself said that he's in favor of the H-1B visa system, and some of his very senior advisors, like Elon Musk, like Vivek Ramaswamy, and some others, have spoken in favor of it because the American tech industry needs people who are qualified and who can help in the strengthening of that particular sector. So these are some of the important issues. Then,
You're
of
right.
course, as General Srivastava mentioned, China and Iran will be very important issues. In regard to Iran, we view the Chabahar investment as something that will give us the much needed trade route through Afghanistan to Central Asia and beyond to Russia and Europe. Whereas America wants to come down very heavily on Iran unless it renounces its pursuit of nuclear weapons. And Iran has not has said that it doesn't want to do so. Iran has not given any favorable indication that it will accede to President Trump's demands. Then, of course, there is the larger geopolitical question of China. Both the United States and India view Chinese expansionism as a threat, and there is a lot of common ground. And that is why, significantly, the very day after President Trump's inauguration, the first meeting of the Quad foreign ministers was held there on the very first day after his inauguration. That underlines the importance which he attaches to Quad, and I think that will see the coming closer
Right,
of
Ambassador.
India and the
We've got
United
some
States.
fresh developments coming in as well. Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, he's put out a statement. He says, I've spoken with the Polish prime minister and we've discussed the conditions needed for a lasting and real peace in Ukraine, and we've agreed that no negotiations with Vladimir Putin can begin without a united position from Ukraine, Europe, and the United States. I informed the Prime Minister about my conversation with President Trump, and we discussed key messages and the need to coordinate the positions of all Europeans. Well, essentially, Volodymyr Zelensky has also taken up a stand himself. Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar also with us on the broadcast. General, how about you come in on this? Yesterday, we were talking about how Prime Minister Modi, he's made it quite clear that this is not an era of war. President Donald Trump, he said it time and again that I'm not here to start wars, I'm here to close them down, I'm here to end those wars. And just yesterday, he had a telephonic conversation with both the leaders, Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky. But now Zelensky taking a quick, sudden, different stance on that particular prospect. Hegseth, what NATO chief Mark Rutte had to say. Let's put all of that into context. Where are we going when we're looking at the 24 February fresh deadline to stop the Ukraine-Russia war?
Look, at the outset, these are all initial, uh, statements being made and initial positions being outlined. It's not necessary that this, what Mr. Zelensky has put out is his final stance. So he's making up his mind. After all, it was only yesterday that President Trump has spoken to President Putin and to Mr. Zelensky. Uh, and if you go to Truth Social, the President Trump has put the whole thing out in quite a great detail. And thereafter, the Defense Secretary Mike Hegseth he's also put out saying that look, Ukraine can't expect to go back to the pre 2014, you know, border era. And he's also said that he's virtually ruled out Ukraine joining NATO. Now, at this point of time, what Zelensky has come out and said is basically making a stand so that he is not fully, on a receiving end of the deal between President Trump and Putin. So this is just a thing. It'll play itself out. The talks are to start really tomorrow, as per what President Trump has said. So there's going to be a team. He's already put a team together, President Trump, consisting of Defense Secretary Marco Rubio, then of course, Mike Waltz and others, and of course Steve Witkoff. So all these three people are going to sit down and start talking with both parties, and certain things will come out. There are extreme positions. If you look at the Russian position, they will say they want the entire area, and they will say we will start talking only after we take out the Kursk salient, which Ukraine still holds about 11 kilometers in depth into Russia. Whereas Ukraine will like to use that as a negotiating position. So a whole lot of things are on the table. But the interesting thing is that the talks have started. That's the most interesting thing. Now, we were just discussing the issue of India, Russia, and USA and the oil problems and all that. Just think of it. Whatever happens, once Ukraine and Russia start talking, and there's some negotiated settlement which starts taking place, it'll ease our pressure off. It'll ease the pressure between India-US, India-Russia relations, and the Russian pressure will start, waning off. So there is a way forward which we can see in our relationship.
Just to tell the
So
viewers as
can
well,
you?
my apologies, General, for butting in on your thoughts like that. But Vivek Ramaswamy, the politician, entrepreneur, of course, Indian origin, somebody who formerly was going to run for the White House as well. He's made his way to the Blair House. He's next in line after NSA Mike Waltz and Elon Musk, the tech billionaire. It's Vivek Ramaswamy's turn to sit down for a mano a mano, a tete-a-tete with the Prime Minister at the iconic Blair House. Back to you, General. Do complete your thoughts. And next up, Sandeep, we really need to understand what the United States is trying to do in terms of breaking away Russia from China as well. We need to look at that as well, because only when they're going to be able to push Russia away from that Chinese, value chain, will they be able to really push China in that corner, which is again one of those strategies to counter China. Or maybe, I'm just thinking out loud. Let the general finish his thoughts, and I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah. No, I'll talk about that also, right? So there is a sliver of hope for India in this, where the deal goes, and the deal, like you said, has probably or the talk of a deal or a talk of a negotiated settlement has already set off probably a cat amongst the pigeons in China. If you look at the Chinese media, right, for like South China Morning Post or Guancha, the vernacular and all that, you get the feeling that look, at least the Chinese are thinking that whatever Russia is doing is against them. In fact, they've gone to the extent, there's an analysis which says, will Ukraine turn into something like Israel or Japan for USA tomorrow? That's the threat, right? Just think of Ukraine turning into such an ally of Russia. I mean, USA.
Live
Whether
visuals
that
on your
happens or not,
screens. My apologies again, General, just to apprise the viewers. That's tech billionaire Elon Musk and the entire delegation. The delegation, of course, consisting of Elon Musk's family, the children, his partner over there as well, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi sitting with the NSA Ajit Doval, you get the External Affairs Minister, and the entire EAM delegation as well. All right, we see a little bit of a gift exchange that also took place. Sandeep, we were earlier talking about how the gift exchange had to happen from this side to the other, but we just saw the tech billionaire give something to Prime Minister. Of course, the larger details are going to come out in just a short time. But then again, that snub that took place, he went to Beijing, did not come to India. That gift, I think, to sort of, put, what's the right word here? Allay those fears, dispel those, opinions about something's wrong between these two leaders.
Absolutely, Kabir. What's the saying? Never look a gift horse in the mouth. That's possibly a lot of those permissions and combinations be flashing through people in the room there as Elon Musk has gifted Prime Minister Modi something small. It looks like a mini satellite or something that's related to some big deal that Elon Musk wants to, achieve in India. And I mean, he is the richest man in the world. He's got huge commercial interests in both China and, of course, in India. He's made that clear amply in the past as well. Starlink, of course, is his baby. He wants to bring Starlink to India. Of course, there are issues with that. Tesla, of course, is another, he wants to bring Tesla in as well. And in fact, just a couple of months back, there was talk of Tesla looking for showrooms in India. This comes after, the Tesla sales have been actually falling all across the world. And, the other thing I was looking at, Kabir, today is that old video of Elon Musk from 2011. It's gone viral today on social media where he's actually laughing at BYD, the fact that the Chinese cars have absolutely no chance against Tesla. And 10 years later, the shoe is on the other foot. It's BYD that's ruling the roast where it comes to electric vehicle sales, whether it's in China or across the world. And Musk he's worried. He's a worried businessman. He knows, and he said that in the past as well. The fact that if BYD is allowed to do business across the world, it will kill every single car maker in the world. It's that good. The battery technology is superior. The car has the kind of finish and features that many other car makers cannot, offer at this moment. And Trump is, I'm sorry, Musk is in the crosshairs of BYD, and there's hard bargaining that he'll have to do now. And obviously, he looks at India as they say, the China plus one thing must be playing very big on his mind right now. And you can see, I'd like to, literally give a penny for his thoughts or a few dollars even. What Elon Musk must be thinking right now. He's just thinking business, business, business. How can I get Prime Minister Modi to allow me to come in and do business, in India? So that's all about this. And of course, the fact is that Elon Musk is someone who not only straddles the tech sector in the United States, but also he's cast a very big shadow across the White House. It's a very unusual pairing of a president and a tech billionaire. We've never seen this kind of a pairing, possibly ever in the 21st century at least. I'm not sure over the 20th, but there would be several instances of US presidents who've counted on billionaire friends, who they could rely on for advice and, counsel. But in this 21st century, this is a very unusual partnership. And the fact that Elon Musk is someone who has President Trump's ear is something that India has taken into consideration literally from the day President Trump was elected US president in November. And of course, over the last couple of months, it's become amply clear that Elon Musk is the man to watch out for. He is literally in Trump's closest circle of
You're right.
advisors.
I mean, he
People
barged in.
lives
He
in
barged in on
Mar-a-Lago.
that Oval Office press conference, like I've been talking about.
Absolutely.
Little X on his shoulder. He just simply opens the door and barges in. That's the man that we're talking about here. That is Elon Musk.
I don't think we've seen those kind of visuals ever, at least not in the 21st century, of the sight of an American president sitting behind the Resolute desk, and you have a billionaire standing over there holding forth, and the billionaire's son over there, doing his thing with the Resolute desk, whispering to Trump. I'm not sure what he said to President Trump, but Trump is sitting there impassively looking on. Occasionally admiringly at Elon Musk. Look, he's the guy I've got. But the prediction is, Kabir, is that how long will this bromance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump last? Because President Trump has been very mercurial when it comes to his advisors and his cabinet. The average tenure was what, 15, 16 months in the first Trump administration. Of course, now he's got a lot more people that he can trust and
But you pointed
that he
out
can count.
yourself, Sandeep, that I mean, he's looking towards only business. He's a one-track minded guy right now. Business, business,
Yeah.
business. And with Donald Trump also looking to do the most before the midterm polls, I think so will Elon Musk at this point in time. Ambassador, we're talking about the trade tariff truth bombs that he's been dropping on Truth Social as well. And unlike most Asian countries, we back at home, because trade deficit is something that everybody is talking about, we back at home have our own trade deficit to deal with as well. Now, let's put some numbers for the viewers out there. The United States has the world's biggest trade deficit at $1.2 trillion, but that amounts to less than 4% of its economy. And India, a country that depends for most of its fuel needs, runs a deficit worth between 8 to 12% on most years. That's the average. I mean, even at $1.2 trillion, that's less than 4% of the US economy. And that in itself has driven the value of the rupee to painfully low levels when compared to the dollar at this point in time. We're discussing, of course, it's all speculation. We're looking at the crucial, meet that is going to take place, the joint statement that is going to come out. But we're constantly also trying to analyze the elbow space, the wiggle space, the wriggle space that we actually have to satisfy somebody like Mr. Donald Trump. Like I pointed out, we have our own trade deficit. Theirs amounts to less than 4%. Ours stands at anywhere between 8 to 12% every year, and we still need our own petrochemicals. External Affairs Minister's, videos about how he shushes up the Western media about we're going to take oil from Russia and, of course, go against them. Who are we with? Who are we not? We're our own voice, our own say, our own balancing scale. Where does India stand at this point in time? The rupee falling down to painfully low levels, and we're looking at these major bilaterals that is going to deepen India-U.S. ties. Over to you, Ambassador.
At a very difficult moment in time. As you said, our trade deficit is mounting, the rupee is coming down. Now, when the trade deficit of the United States goes up, they print more treasury bills, they print more dollars, and they circulate them all over the world. So, in other words, as long as the dollar is the backbone of the world trading system, the United States has a very big advantage. We don't have that advantage, and the trade deficit affects us very adversely. Donald Trump is a businessman. He's very transactional. He has said again and again that he wants to make America great again, which means dictate policy to other countries as regards particularly trade and financial matters. And we have a problem there because he is threatening tariffs. So whether or not those tariffs are announced today, but they are hanging over our head like the sword of Damocles, and we don't want those high tariffs on our export. At the same time, he should be aware that there was a tariff war which he had commenced because he had increased the tariffs on aluminium and steel, and then we had increased tariffs on 25 items. And finally, with a great deal of difficulty in 2023 during Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States, this matter was resolved. I hope he doesn't want to again escalate this issue by increasing tariffs. But nonetheless, he believes in arm twisting. There is no doubt about it that his policy is based on building as much as pressure as he can. And I'm afraid he's building pressure on us because he wants to give in on a number of issues. And as I said earlier, the most important one is defense supplies. The United States is the world's largest exporter of defense equipment, and he wants to maximize the share of the Indian market. We have a problem. We want to indigenize, and transfer of technology is not totally acceptable to Donald Trump. So we have some tough negotiating to do. But nonetheless, the important point, as you yourself mentioned, is that there are going to be some tough issues that we have to encounter.
All right. Aditya, I'm going to come to you next because we've spoken about NSA Mike Waltz's, dialogue with the Prime Minister. Of course, Elon Musk's meeting currently underway. And we're also learning that Vivek Ramaswamy, he's almost there at the Blair House as well. Just to help the viewers out there, what might be on the cards, the agenda? He's got the money, he's got the clout, he was running for the White House himself. Those dreams did not actualize per se. But how is this significant, Vivek Ramaswamy and Prime Minister Modi's meet?
Vivek Ramaswamy has been again a very significant pro-India voice in and close around the Trump circle, and especially on the issue of Indian immigrants in the US, H-1B visas, and how to smoothen, the Indian talent in US, the entire visa regime. For that purpose, of course, this meeting would be significant because Vivek Ramaswamy, again, is a very close confidant of Trump. He left the presidential race in support of Trump not very long ago. And apart from that, he was also given the executive role along with Elon Musk at the DOGE, but he chose to contest for the governorship of Ohio. And that's what he's focused on. But three significant meetings taking place ahead of that big meeting between Trump and Modi. It began with Mike Waltz. Now, Prime Minister Modi has just tweeted 2 minutes ago about the meeting with Mike Waltz and how security and the gambit of the security ties between India and US was discussed, and with various sectors within the security domain. Apart from that, of course, Elon Musk, we will know shortly what exactly was discussed. There will be a statement out from the Indian side in a few minutes from now. And of course, Vivek Ramaswamy has also reached the Blair House now for that significant meeting. So, very crucial meetings taking place. Four important, I would say, confidants of Trump meeting Prime Minister Modi. It began with Tulsi Gabbard and then Mike Waltz, finally Elon Musk, and now Vivek Ramaswamy. Any minute will be beginning that meeting. Each meeting lasting from about 30 to 40 minutes. It's not a quick call on. That's what we're talking about. It's a detailed call on. That means that some significant issues are being discussed threadbare. Of course, many of them have family members also accompanying them to meet Prime Minister Modi. Also talking about how significant Prime Minister Modi's visit is, that he has been given, accommodation. He's being hosted at the Blair House, which is quite significant. This is, of course, the president's, you could say the guest house. Apart from that, of course, as many have been predicting that there would be some tough negotiations that have already taken place over the last couple of weeks when this meeting was being decided. And my prediction would be that there would be a win win situation. Of course, a lot when we talk about Modi and Trump is also about narrative and messaging. And that's what would be the top priority. There would be some big announcements in favor of US and some others in favor of India. That could include, from illegal immigration through trade as well, and most significantly, more defense purchases, just like you mentioned, and Sandeep elaborated on the defense framework that we will witness. But one critical miss, I would say, would be the sharing of technology that hasn't really, unfortunately, transpired, and it's unlikely that there would be some headway on it.
All right. So not much of a headway when you're talking about the transfer of tech per se, but the defense framework, you rightly pointed out, Aditya, we've broken that down per se. It's going to be RDP. That's what Sandeep used, reciprocal defense procurement. That seems to be the deal that people are talking about right now. We'll have to, of course, wait and find out as to what happens in that joint press statement, moments from now. We're looking at a win-win situation between these two, nations when we're talking about trade, when we're talking about the defense framework, when we're talking about immigration. But General Shankar, I'm going to quickly come to you. We need to look at China as well, because India and the United States, the world's largest democracies, both together, they somehow find themselves on the similar plateau, the similar plane, when we're looking at how to tackle and go against our mutual rival, that's China, the dragon in the room. And India has traded more with the United States than it has traded with China, spent billions on US defense imports in the recent years. The Quad summit, people are also saying that maybe the Quad turns into a military alliance. You never know what happens in the next 4 years to, well, of course, counter China's economic primacy in the Indo-Pacific as well, and the Quad. How are you looking at those developments the next 4 years under Donald Trump, and collectively tackling China, the dragon in the room?
Yeah, that's a good question. How to tackle the dragon in the room? There are three shades to this whole story. First is the Indo-Pacific construct. And there's an Indo part of it and a Pacific part of it. Increasingly, the Indo part of it is coming into focus. You see the developments in the North Arabian, you see the developments in Gwadar, you see the Red Sea lanes, and all that. You see which are the two countries which are acting here, India and USA. To that extent, I think there's a realization in USA that they need India to handle the Indian Ocean, where USA can, with Australia and Japan, can handle the Western Pacific. So, to that extent, I think there's a very important role for India. And at the end of the day, there's also the dragon in the room. The second thing is the Indo-US strategic partnership, which is fundamentally, I mean, apart from everything else, has a heavy China slant to it. And we also have to understand that India is considered as the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. And for regional balance and for global balance, USA needs India. As USA is winding down the Ukraine war and the Gaza war, Israel-Gaza conflict, it needs India to, and as it shifts its focus towards China. It's not only a matter of just defense technology and arming ourselves. It needs India. When you look at it from the Chinese point of view, the Chinese say that they are facing four fronts. The first front is, interestingly, the Korean Peninsula. The second is the Taiwan area, and third is the South China Sea, and fourth is India. And China has done its best now to step away from the fourth front so that it can concentrate on the other three fronts. Okay. And to that extent, China is aware of what's happening. And China is fully aware of the meetings which are going on between India and USA. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of talk within China that so far whatever Trump has done has been indirectly aimed at China, whether it is the Panama Canal or it is Greenland or it is winding down the Russia-Ukraine war or it is Gaza, where China has been completely, made insignificant in the West Asia peace process, or it's deal with India, or for that matter, even in Taiwan. Everyone says, look, the Trump presidency doesn't have much interest in Taiwan. But interestingly, yesterday, there was a freedom of navigation movement of a American destroyer through the Taiwan Strait. There's an Australian reconnaissance plane which has been claimed by China as having intruded into Chinese airspace. So the focus in Taiwan is also there. So China is very clear, notwithstanding what Mr. Trump says, they're looking at what he does. And what he is now doing with our prime minister will not escape their attention. And the very fact that four of Mr. Trump's senior advisors, right, like you rightly said, Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, Mr. Elon Musk, and Mr. Elon Musk coming with his entire family, is significant. Mr. Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Walsh meeting won't escape China's, viewpoint. And like the ambassador was saying, tariffs are an issue. Defense deals are an issue. These are tough negotiations. I was involved in the M777 negotiations. It took 6 years for us to sign finally and get
Right.
the guns to India. So it's not going to be easy, but the focus is there. I mean, we shouldn't lose sight of it. And India's role in this is there. And at the end of this, I expect by tomorrow morning, I mean, Indian Standard Time, there is going to be a statement which meets both requirements.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so,
Otherwise,
Dhananjay.
there won't be this much of importance given to Prime Minister Modi's visit.
Absolutely. We're all hoping for good sense to prevail by the end of it. Nobody's saying this is an easy task, and you rightly pointed out why exactly this is not going to be an easy task, but there is some room for India to constantly make those offerings. I was reading about bourbons and pecans that, those taxations and those duties, those levies are keeping those from Indian consumers here back at home. The Californian almonds, that's also something that, people here in India, the demand isn't as much, but hey, a lower tariff is a lower tariff. And I think when you're talking to a businessman on the other side, and that's what we've been talking about, that this is all about business. Elon Musk's a businessman, President Trump's a businessman, and why Mr. Modi will have to, turn that switch on from a politician to a businessman when he's trying to strike that balancing act.